this mic dirty? Hello? Oh my god, I just got out of the shower. So, and I refuse to wear makeup. I don't care. Anyways, today is Monday. It's a federal holiday. I think it's Memorial Day. Let me see. Today's May 25th. Yes, it's Memorial Day. And everything is off. People don't work on Memorial Day, except for me, because I choose to. So basically, oh god, did I just send? I hope I didn't send that. Sometimes my phone sends. Oh shit. Sometimes my phone sends people voice messages like on its own accord. I have no control over it. It's really funny. Anyways, before I get into the American education, because once we enter that, it's like a black hole for me. Like I will not stop. So I'm gonna do something for fun. I have this book it's a bargain. I love bargains. I got it in 2018. It's 300 writing prompts, and it was $6.98. Plus tax, it was like 7 something. And I love to write. I love writing, so this is for fun. And also because it's interesting to look back in these things and like years later or months later when things have changed. Because my mindset is constantly changing and constantly evolving. The more I educate myself, so I was looking at, I did answer a few, I didn't answer that many, but when I was dating my ex, it's quite interesting what I put. And also just before I created my nonprofit, like my mind was still on making it a legit thing that I accomplished. So there's some stuff like that. Let me see what it says here. So now I am choosing a color because I'm color coded, color organized, and anything that is pink is 2020 of me. And I'm gonna choose a topic. I'm not gonna like do every topic because I do want to get into the book. That's what I'm doing today. I don't consider this work. Like this is not work. This is for fun. Like this is my hobby, is reading. I love to read and I love to learn. So it's not work. I just call it work so people can understand, because that seems to be the only concept they understand. And that's not me, like whatever. And I'm wearing my shirt. The angels protect me, the demons respect me. All right. Do you have a love-hate relationship with someone or something? If so, explain. A love-hate relationship? No. I don't have hate for anyone. So no. I don't like that question. Do you feel like there's a void in your life? And if so, what could be causing it? I don't have a void. My life is so meaningful. I don't need anyone to fill a void. And that mindset is kind of like, if you relate it to psychology, it's a really negative mindset, because if you're always looking for someone to complete you, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to find happiness, and that gives power to other people. It gives power over your happiness and your sanity, and you don't want that. Yeah. So yeah, I don't need anyone to fill a void or create happiness for me. Like, I do that myself. Have I ever been betrayed? Yes, I have been betrayed. A lot. Well, I've only been betrayed once. And I'm not going to mention who did this. In this book, I'll write who it is, but I'm not going to say it because, it's really unnecessary. Do I know any interesting facts about my family history? Yes. I'm going to write. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, or I don't know if I've specifically mentioned my history, my family background. My father's parents fled the Nazis. They were German. Grandparent and grandfather, because parent is for both. My great grandfather was German, and my great grandmother was French Canadian. I think I spelled Canadian wrong. Yeah, I spelled Canadian wrong. Whatever. And they were together, and I don't know anything about that, because not even my dad knows. Like, he doesn't remember his family history, but I assume they weren't Christian. They were probably Protestant, because that's what my dad is. And when they rose to power, the Nazis, when Hitler rose to power, they fled and came to America. They came to Massachusetts. And I can't spell Massachusetts for the life of me. Okay, so, and then my grandma was born. And my grandma on my dad's side was was the only relative that I ever really formed a bond with. Um, she was an artist like me. She painted traditional wood art. I don't have any. I don't know if I took any, but she was really talented. Like she was really talented, and she absolutely loved me because I was her first grandchild. I think my dad is he's from a big family. He has four siblings, so it's five people. My grandmother wanted to have a girl so bad, but she kept getting boys. So she has five boys. She had five boys. She passed away. She had five boys, and after five, I guess she gave up, and she was like, "No more kids." So, and my dad is the youngest out of that. Grandpa, grandma, Massachusetts, grandma. And I don't know much about my grandmother's life because, due to my father's personal reasons, he doesn't like talking about his family life. So I really don't know anything about that. And it's kind of sad for me because, I want to know about her. But that is lost in history. I really can't do anything about it. So my grandma had five boys. My dad was born. My father is a veteran. And it's really funny. So our creative skills are passed down genetically. So out of one of my uncles, he is a professional artist. I think he's a traditional watercolor landscape artist, and he's actually quite famous. If you want to look him up. His name is Leslie Swift. I have never met him. My dad does not interact with him. I don't know why. One day I hope to meet him because he's an artist. And then eventually my other uncle, after retirement, he started teaching himself art. And I encourage him because my family doesn't really take art seriously. They're just like, oh, that's nice. But he sends us his art, little drawings of Christmas trees. And I was like, this is so beautiful. This is amazing. Keep doing it. And he was like, oh, and it was really funny because he signed it in his name. And I'm not going to mention his first name. His last name is Swift. Him and I had the same signature, and I showed it to him, and I was like, look, we have the same exact signature. We sign the same way. And I found that really interesting. And it's really funny. It's really funny to me. So my dad was the youngest. He entered the military. I mean, sorry, not military, Navy. In the Navy. I'm getting nostalgia. Kind of, I might cry. Navy and he met my mother in Miami. And my mother is Colombian. Pure Colombian. Pure Colombian immigrant. And she is a legit US citizen now. So if anyone tries to say anything, like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I completely agree with the current views on immigration, illegal immigration, and legal immigration. I really don't agree with that shit. And I can say shit because this is 18 plus. It's garbage. Immigrants created this country. Like, everyone that came to this country is an immigrant. Like, you cannot say that immigrants are. You can say that some immigrants are criminals. That is true, but for the majority, they're not. They're not criminals. That is just racism, blatant racism. And I can go deep into it too. Like, I can talk about that shit. Without immigrants, this country would never have existed. Not only that, you wouldn't have a workforce, because I don't know the exact numbers, but I assume like 80% to, yeah, I would say 80% are immigrants. So I don't understand where this mindset is coming from Trump, the Trump administration, where allowing people into this country and putting them in concentration camps, because that is literally what he's doing, helps anyone. That's just being racist, and that's being a fascist, and that's being what's the word? Let's look it up. There's a specific word that I'm thinking about. This is not the right word. I can't think of the word. Inhumane. I was thinking unhuman and dehuman. I knew that wasn't the right word. It's being inhumane. And of course, they're going to present it like, they're rapists, they're criminals. And if you look at the truth, most of the rapists are white men, rich white cis men. And, he's just trying to deflect. Look that up. I'm not going to explain it. Anyways, I learned. Yes, my mom was an immigrant. She came to this country alone. She has a big family as well. I think she has 5 siblings as well, and she was the oldest. 5 siblings. And I don't know. She has sisters and brothers. I don't know. I think she has 3 sisters and 2 brothers. Actually, no, she has 6 siblings. 3 sisters and 3 brothers. One brother passed away a long time ago. He died. That's all I know. And I met my Hispanic family when I was in middle school. It was a lot of fun. And then that family is huge. Like, I don't know who's a cousin. Like, I don't know who's related to me when I go there. I'm just like, I just assume that everyone is related to me, because like, there are people that don't even look Hispanic. Like, I saw this guy who is blonde and blue-eyed in the neighborhood, and I was like, who is that? He's cute. And then there's like, that's your cousin. I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm just gonna not find anyone attractive. Yeah. So that's how it is in Latin countries, and I don't see anything wrong with that, because it's nice to have a big family. It's like a little army. So she came to this country, and she met my dad, and they fell in love. And she didn't see her family until I was 14. and my sister was 13. So she didn't see her family for that long. That's crazy, right? And then eventually my dad paid for her to go back and see her family, and they met us, my sister and me, and my father, who had never been to a Latin country, and he doesn't speak Spanish. That was interesting. You know, typical. Um, so we met them, and then after that, she didn't see them until 2019. Her parents, my grandparents, came to America because in Colombia they have a law where if you are 18 or younger or a certain age, you cannot come to America legally because they're afraid that you will stay in the country and never come back. Which, I totally understand that. Like, I wouldn't come. I mean, I like Colombia. So, so anyone who, like my cousins, they can't come here. I can't see them. The only people I can see are the retired population. So I think my aunt is coming with my grandparents. So those are the only people that I can see. Unless I go to Colombia, I can see everyone. Yeah, 6 siblings, 3 sisters, 3 brothers. I don't know how many relatives I have, like cousins and all that. Like, I really don't. Like, it's a lot. Probably like 20 people or more, actually, like now, currently, because they've had children. They're my age. Some of them are a little younger, some of them are a little older, but they have kids. It blows my mind. My day, I think that's very interesting. And then that's pretty much all I know. My father he has a degree, but my mother has an education. You would consider it not elementary, middle school education, but she has her own business. So that just shows you like the concept of people, immigrants, illegal and legal immigrants. They're not lazy. And then me and my sister, we have the highest degrees in our entire family, but not in our white American family. I assume my cousin has a higher degree than me. I don't know. I don't know those details. Mother, and she's a woman. So the females from my family are actually really smart. They have businesses. They have high degrees. So I have a degree. I have a bachelor's, BFA, and eventually I'm going to get my master's and get my PhD. And my sister is currently working on she has, is it a BSA? I think it is, Bachelor's of Science. I don't know what the abbreviation of that is. She has a Bachelor of Science. She has a chemistry degree with a minor in psychology, and she's currently studying to have her master's in genetics. She really wants to be a geneticist, and she's really smart. Um, it's really great. So she's probably going to beat me. I'm not saying beat me as like a competition, but she's probably going to get her master's degree faster than I'm going to be able to get my master's degree. Because I cannot go back to school until my loans are either paid off or they're completely wiped off my educational history. I'm maxed out. So I have to wait until I either get a scholarship, the new president of the United States wipes clean all the debt, or I pay the $60,000 that I own directly, like in full. And that's the problem with American education. So I can't get a master's, and I definitely can't get my PhD without a master's. So I really have no option but to, I mean, I have options. I just study on my own. Or my husband can pay it. That would be a nice gift. I'm not married, but I'm saying, putting it out there, paying for my education. Anyways, let's move on. So that's a little family history. As I know, I don't know anything about my Colombian side because they don't keep records. So I just know that we are from an Aboriginal tribe in the Amazon. So I'm technically Indian, if you want to call it. It's not, I'm not Indian. I'm whatever. That's how they define it in America. I'd be Native American, but I'm not an American Indian tribe. So yeah, I'm a crazy mix. And that's why people think that I'm German or French, because I guess I look German or French. I'm also a mutation in my family. Genetically, I have this weird, I don't know what it's called, passed down from my grandmother, and I have colored eyes, which nobody has in my family, at least not in my direct family. Interesting. My grandma had blue eyes, so I guess I got something from her. Genetics is really interesting, and that's why my sister likes it. I like it too, but I'm not like an expert in it. She's the expert. What else should we rate? What is your most recent discovery? Is this my discovery, like my personal discovery, or is it a scientific discovery? Ooh. I love science, so I'm going to relate this to a science discovery. I have a lot of discoveries that I like. I was watching a YouTube video, and I learned that there's a planet that is so black that no light gets absorbed, and it also is so hot that it burns red. So I think that's interesting. I forget the name. It's like Kelper 1b something, or some weird name, or a number, because they love to put like long numbers. So I'm just going to put a planet. That's cool. Discovery. Another discovery is this was by a Japanese scientist. I forget his name. He has done several books on um, vibration and how it affects water. Um, and this is quite interesting. So this is just proving that thoughts, because thoughts are vibration, your thoughts affect your body internally, physically, and emotionally. And of course, nobody pays attention to it. They put his book in the spiritual section, which doesn't make sense to me. It should be in the science section because it's scientific research with evidence. You know, like he has pictures of different types of water molecules and how they react to negative emotions and positive emotions, negative and positive vibration. I don't know why he's in the spiritual section. I found him there and I was like, ooh. This is stuff that I already knew, so I didn't really read his book. I just looked at the imagery because I thought it was really interesting. And I am going to buy a book that he is not available in America. It's in Japanese, where he talks about water has the answer, but they didn't care to translate it into English. So I'm going to have to read it and translate it myself, which I'm perfectly fine doing because I love Japanese. So it's just going to be fun for me. Except when it comes to kanji, because kanji is just so hard. In Japanese, they have 3 alphabets. They have hiragana, katakana. Hiragana is the traditional Japanese language that children learn. Katakana is how they translate foreign words, which is easy to read for me because, you know, it's just simple symbolism. And then kanji is the language that you study for the rest of your life until your death, because there's thousands, 10,000, more than, I don't know. It's like an endless, crazy mess. And that's what educated adults use to simplify Japanese language. And I have only learned 100, and I have forgotten a lot. So, anyways, don't get me started on Japanese. All right, I'll get started on Japanese. So I learned Japanese in middle school for 2 years because I refused to learn Spanish again, to be forced to do Spanish because I lived in Miami and that's what everyone speaks. And I was like, I'd rather learn Japanese because why not? And it was my sensei. She was serious, man. So being the nerd that I am, you know, if I'm interested in something, I do it. And I would finish every worksheet she would give me. And I would think that I was like, yes, I'm done. And nope, she would just slip in another one. It was like an endless worksheet. I was always doing worksheets. It was crazy. But she was very sweet. I love her and I miss her. Like I know she's still in Miami. She married an American photographer and she has 2 kids. So anyways, she was a great teacher. She was very sweet. And when you learn kanji, if you're an American and you don't understand the process of any Chinese character or any Japanese character, they're essentially the same. The Japanese took from the Chinese, but they changed the meaning. So that's really confusing. Anyways, you have to learn the strokes. That's how meticulous the Chinese and the Japanese are. So when you see a character It's not like draw it exactly like they have a process. They have a step by step. You draw this one this way, and you have to do it in a stroke, and then you have to draw that. And that was like just too much for me to remember because I really don't care. I mean, unless you're making it into art or poetry, then yes, the strokes matter. But if you're freaking writing this out for research, I'm not going to spend time to memorize the characters. So yeah, that was crazy. And it was great. It was a great learning experience and it stuck with me for the rest of my life. You know, I am relearning. I just have no one to practice with. Actually, I did find a group in Miami, and when Corona's over, I will be there because I don't want to lose it. Anyways, what else? Another recent discovery. Tardigrades. I love tardigrades. And tardigrades are found everywhere, even in space, where we believe that nobody can survive, which is stupid. They're found in space, they're found in volcanoes, and they're found in cold temperatures. They're pretty cool. I like tardigrades. All right, so let's move on to the next one because this is I will never finish this. Let's find something interesting. These are all interesting, actually. So I found this one. Think back upon a time you resisted temptation. Now write what it would have been like to give in. So when people talk about temptation, they always think about like sinning and like greed. For me, temptation is being vicious. The temptation that I have is being vicious and mean and cruel and petty. And I get tempted a lot when I deal with people who are being petty, cruel, and vicious to me. But we have free will and we have a choice, and my choice is to be kind. Because that's who I am. So if I were to be vicious, mean, petty, and cruel, these people that I'm dealing with would be absolutely destroyed, not only through my vocabulary, but also by legality. If I wanted to be vicious, people get scared when you mention laws, getting sued. But I absolutely refuse to waste my time. So I just ignore them. And then I just do something for fun, like educate myself. So I just put temptation is equals vicious, mean, petty, and cruel. That is my temptation on a daily basis. Okay, so I got another one, and I think this is going to be the last one, and then I'm going to move to actually studying. What colors inspire you, and how do they inspire you? What feelings do they invoke? Anything on the color spectrum, i.e., rainbows. inspire me. I love rainbows. So let me look this up because I mentioned it before and I didn't have any backing, but I'm pretty sure I saw it. All right, so okay, and I know a lot about color psychology. I've kept papers on that, and that's just in order to teach people, to teach kids mainly, that color can increase your mood or change your mood. So I can't find the specifics. Um, Based on research that I cannot find, if you Google it, the color spectrum, if you look at a rainbow, uh, it increases the dopamine in your brain and the serotonin. I'm sorry, my roommate woke up and he's doing the dishes. Rainbows create a positive effect if you look at them on a daily basis. So in my house, intentionally, I have prisms everywhere. And also because they're really cool, it's really pretty. Um, so literally, if I'm very like sad, I just go into my room and look at the rainbows projected onto my wall, and I feel better. And I think that's it. I'm going to continue this whenever I feel like it. But we're going to go into the American education system, and we stopped at. Did I put a bookmark? No, I did not. But I know where I left off. So, politics and the goals of education for the year 2000. And before I do that, I'm going to get more water, go to the bathroom. I'm going to turn off my mic so you don't have to hear all this nonsense. And- all right, we're back. I have grapefruit juice, and if you know anything about being on antidepressants or any medication that has to do um, with mental illness, some medications, if you drink grapefruit juice, it would kill you. It would literally kill you. And that was one thing that was really hard for me because I always love grapefruit juice. I love eating grapefruits. Not grapes, grapefruits. So now that I'm off of medication, I can drink lots of grapefruit juice. Isn't that crazy? I don't know. It's just crazy. And also, if you're on medication and you're a woman, and if you get pregnant, not only can you have an abortion because of the medication, but your kid can have significant learning disabilities and functioning disabilities. So that was another decision of mine that a lot of people give me attitude about. That I don't want to be on medication in case I get pregnant, when I choose to get pregnant, because I don't want to take that risk. But I have a lot of men mansplaining, I love that term, who want to tell me that I shouldn't be off medication, which is bullshit. It's my choice. My body, my choice. You have a problem with it? Shut the fuck up and move on, because I'm not going to listen to your opinion. Anyways, politics and the goals of education for the year 2000. Besides highlighting the issue of the proper role of business in American education, the work of the National Governors Association and the Bush administration, and I'm going to highlight these. National Governors Association and the Bush administration raises the question of proper political process for determining national goals for education. And I'm getting distracted by the noise in the background. I'm going to put a note. Do I have stickies? I have little stickies here somewhere. Oh, yeah, I do. Trump administration, 2020 education policies. This is always important to know what's going on in your government. I don't trust anyone who thinks that they have power over me. I don't let anyone who has a position of power act like they understand and can comprehend that they know what I want. If you allow your government just to pretend that they have your best interest and not get involved, this is what happens. So good. Oh shit. Oh shit. All right. I almost choked on grapefruit juice. So, that was a big thing with boomers. Because boomers seem to just think they have the attitude. If it has nothing to do with me, then it's none of my business. If it's not me, then I don't care. And this comes to like, I'll relate this to racism, like police violence, the concentration camps for immigrants who are Hispanic. They would literally sit there and be like, I'm not Hispanic, so I don't care. I'm not Black, so I don't care. And if you have that point of view in life, how can I say this? If you have that mindset, basically, this is how Hitler rose to power. So it's the same thing. It's the same history repeating itself. People sat there and they're like, I don't care that the Jews are being killed. Like, I'm not a Jew, so I don't give a shit. And I don't care that anyone who is gay, non-Christian, non-Catholic is being murdered. That has nothing to do with me. And then lo and behold, look what happened. I think millions of people, I don't know, millions or billions of people were killed. And then, that's, can I help you? There's no water for you to drink here, so Kaiser. So anyways, raises the question of proper political. That's my grapefruit juice. Now all of a sudden, all the animals need my attention. Heidi, stop. Anyways, an important lesson to be learned from analysis of political process is that the purpose of education are a product of the existence of political and economic power. The exercise, that's an important word. I wouldn't say exercise. I would say the privilege, because that is a privilege. Political power is a privilege, and economic power is a privilege. A striking element in the process that produced the national goals for the year 2000 is the almost complete absence of educators. This absence is a result of a combination of factors, including Bush's desire to be known as the education president, party politics, and general distrust of the education establishment. So I'm gonna bracket education president, because I don't know if you guys remember Bush. I remember Bush. I'm not going to say anything. Anyways, during this tenure as vice president under Ronald Reagan, the administration was primarily represented in education affairs by the Secretary of Education. Secretary of Education. Reagan's second Secretary of Education, William Bennett, turned his office into a bully pulpit and properly criticized educators by bully pulpit. Bennett meant using his position to try and persuade schools to change their practices. Bennett resigned at the end of the Reagan administration and was later appointed by Bush to head the war against drugs. What are you doing with that pen? That's an expensive pen. What are you doing? Using my art supplies.
Correct your math.
What math error?
4 kilos times 4 is not 8.
It's 16. Oops. I was thinking 4 times 2. See, this is what happens. I'm sometimes I'm bad at math. All right. In contrast to the highly visible Secretary Bennett, President Bush has kept his Secretary of Education, Lauro Cavazos, another man, in the background. President Bush wants credit for the policy statement regarding education. How nice. By keeping, yeah, play with my hair. Please. Don't put your butt in my face. Come on. By keeping the spotlight on himself instead of Secretary Cavazos, Bush hopes to win the reputation of being education president. Wow, what an asshole. Taking credit for other people's work. I don't like that. Can I help you? Like, what are you deciding to do here? Like, what's going on? You're gonna lay there? You're gonna lay there? All right, so while we let Kaiser relax, let's just process this information. So I want to point out a few things. All these men in the administration are white, except for the ones that are Hispanic. They have Hispanic names, but they're still men. I want to point out that why is it so important for Bush to be known as the education president? I don't think he gave a shit. I think he just wanted to put political interest in education so that his greedy money, his dirty money, kept coming in. So that's really interesting to know. During this time, I was pretty young, so I wasn't politically active. I was not aware of any of this until now. So, what else can we do while this pretty kitty is on my book? All right, she moved a little bit. Between the White House and the National Governors Association were conducted by President Bush domestic policy advisor Roger Porter. And not Secretary Cavazos. So I assume Cavazos is a Hispanic name. In keeping with the economic emphasis of the national goals, Porter's background in public policy with an emphasis in economic policy. Before serving as president advisor, Porter served in the Reagan administration as policy advisor and as director of the Office of Policy Development, and served as executive secretary of Economic Policy Board. Notably absent from Porter's background is any previous involvement in public school policy. All right. Getting people involved that have no expertise in education. And I'm going to eat this delicious eggs because I haven't ate. I woke up at 4 a.m. Because I was really hot. I don't know why. And then I went back to sleep. Did I go back to sleep? Yeah, I went back to sleep for an hour. And then I woke up again and I didn't eat. This is really hot. Anyway. anyways, while that's cooling down, let's continue this book. In addition to wanting to place himself in the spotlight regarding education issues, Bush is distrustful of many education organizations. Distrustful? I don't think he's distrustful. I think he just had a political agenda, you know. American Federation of Teachers primarily supports candidates from the Democratic Party. So I politically would be considered a liberal, and I'm partial to the Democratic Party. But I don't blindly follow, those guidelines. So some people are like, I'm a Democrat. I'm only voting for Democrats. I don't care about Republicans because so far as I've seen, as I've studied, Republicans have no interest in people like the people that I serve. So it's mainly Democrats, like AOC. I forgot the other girl's name. Younger Democrats, that I like, and Bernie Sanders, because he's just very he's very real. He has been doing protests, fighting political inequality for as long as he's been alive, I guess. So he's someone that I would love to talk to. Can you not? I'm not going to give you any of this. This is my breakfast. Go eat your own breakfast. Anyways, and the two-party political system is just really dumb. People take so long just deciding on laws. They just sit there and, they just debate about it. And then it goes back and forth, back and forth. And then by the time they do anything, it's too late. It's really a waste of time. Anyways. Both unions oppose election of President Bush. Very good to know. Governors also want to place themselves in the spotlight of education leaderships in their state. As I discussed in Chapter 7, since the 1980s, many governors have made education a central focus of their political campaigns. Believing that leadership in education will enhance their political fortunes, many governors assume command of school reform efforts in their states. I am so happy that state teacher unions exist, because without that, they would just, they're already going balls to the wall, but they have some kind of regulation. Yeah. Very interesting. And I want to eat more stuff. None of this information surprises me. It does not surprise me at all. Mario Kumo. Mario Kumo interpreted the refusal to raise federal taxes to provide aid to schools as indicating President Bush supporting. Well, at least somebody was saying something. Um, Stop it. Stop crying. This is my food. You have your food. Sometimes my dog acts like she's never been fed, like on a daily basis. I'm going to finish this really quick and then we're going to move on to the next section. Liberals, neoconservatives, and critical theorists. Okay. All right, so next section. This is still chapter 1. This is the last section. Yeah. So liberals, neoconservatives, and critical theorists. The goals of education are related to politics and political beliefs because schools play an important role in providing access to jobs, determining social equality and inequality, and distributing knowledge about the political system. I'm going to continue to use green. And I'm going to write a little note. Where it says political knowledge about political system. It's controlled knowledge. What's the word for that? Where's my phone? There's a word for that. Is it mediated? No. Let me look up the word. There's a specific word for this, and I cannot find it. Yeah, it's not the right word. Control is not the right word. There's a specific word. I'm just going to put control just to look it up later. Would it be filtered? Would it be filtered knowledge? Let me look it up. I guess filtered would be a better term. No, not the right word. I'll look it up later. I need a little sticky. Sometimes I just can't think of the right words and I have to read a book. To illustrate the relationship between political beliefs and the goals of schooling, I will examine 3 distinct political philosophies. Not because these are the only political philosophies affecting education, but because of their current impact on American schools. These are the liberal, neoconservative, and critical theorist positions. In general, liberal beliefs have their greatest impact on the education platforms of the Democratic Party, while neoconservatives are influential in the Republican Party. So, yeah, most people are liberal, Democratic Party, and then we have the neoconservatives, and those are a scary group of white men who think that they can do whatever they want. Given the confused nature of American party politics, the lack of ideological clarity of the major parties, many different political beliefs, of course, creep into the discussion of each party. Blah, blah, blah. He's talking about dominant traits, so liberals and neoconservatives. Critical theory is a recent movement among American intellectuals. Its impact on American politics, at least at the time of writing this book, cannot be clearly discerned as a set of political beliefs. The major impact of critical theory is academic discussions. I always like academic discussions about educational policies. Academic discussions are necessary. Also, they're a lot of fun. I don't get to do a lot of those because quarantine, and I also don't know a lot of intellectuals as of yet. I do know some doctors, in psychology, but I can't just. I can, but I prefer face to face. What do you need? Do you need to go outside? Heidi. Gio. Never mind. Let us begin the discussing the relationship between liberal political beliefs and political policies. 20th century liberalism, I think I said that right, is characterized by a belief in positive role of government in assuring social justice and regulating the economy. And I'm going to highlight that in pink. So this is very important to me. That's why I consider myself a liberal. Anything to do with social justice. is what I'm part of. While believing in private ownership of the means of production, liberals argue that the government should manage and regulate the economy to protect against economic depression and ensure that corporations work for the public good. Common sense. Also, liberals are characterized by a belief that government should take an active role in protecting the rights of minorities and assuring equal opportunity in the economic system. What? They want to help minorities? They want equal rights? What? Why would they want that? It's all about money. Anyways, liberal education concerns are a direct reflection of these political beliefs. Liberals tend to favor strong government intervention to assure equal opportunity for minorities, and the poor. It's really funny because AOC, if you don't know her story, I don't know if it's still on Netflix. She has a documentary when she was running for Congress. And the guy who was in Congress, the Democratic seat in New York, I'm going to say he's been sitting there on his ass for like 30 years without competition. And until AOC came up and was like, she had enough of this bullshit. He was all, she's not going to win, because he had all the political power. He had all the political resources. Like I said, it's a privilege. And AOC was just a poor, educated woman, Hispanic. So he was just like doing interviews and not giving a shit. He didn't take it seriously. And then she won. And then all of a sudden, she's in Congress, and this woman is educated, strong. She has very high empathy. She's a great person to have in Congress. And all these men in the Republican Party are like, she's a bitch, she's a cunt, she's crazy. And they demean and defame her based on how she talks, how she looks. And I find that really petty and really funny because as soon as a strong woman enters any man's, how do we say it? As soon as these macho men, tough guys, are actually threatened by somebody who isn't another man, they attack them personally. And this happens to every woman who, is strong and has boundaries. I get it all the time. I've had random men call me a bitch for telling them off. Like, I would tell them, hey, like, your behavior is really disgusting. Like, go fuck yourself. And then somebody would be like, you're a fucking bitch. Like, and then they just proceed to like verbal diarrhea. And I'm like, yes, I am a bitch. I'm a boss bitch. And I'm that bitch. So it's just really funny. All these men, it's mainly men, and some women who support Trump, but I don't include those women because I'm going to say it. They're fucking idiots. So the men, the men who support Trump are always bashing AOC, and they bash them on Facebook. They bash them on social media. But I think if they were to go up to her face and say those things, it would be a different story. And I would love to see that, because I would like, basically I'd be standing in the background while they're saying all these things to her face. And I'm pretty sure she can obliterate them with conscious words. And then I'll be in the background and I'll intervene and attack them too. Because I don't like anyone attacking anyone that I deem a great role model, a friend, somebody who is educated. I don't like any of that. I'm not a bystander. And that was my rant. Anyways, they support federal funds. Oh, yes. And another thing that they would bring up about ASC is that she was working a bar job to support herself. And they kept bringing up, she's poor, she's working this job, blah, blah. And it was just like, literally, what the fuck are you trying to say? Like, 90% of Americans, sorry, 99% of Americans work these jobs. And if they don't work, you don't have a business, you don't have a profit. So shut the fuck up. Anyways, before I get too spicy, because I'm Latin, partially. They support federal funds for educational programs to help disadvantaged. Yes. I love it. The section is awesome. In keeping with their belief in positive government intervention, liberals favor federal programs that support special education programs for disadvantaged, the minorities, and federal intervention to protect minority rights. Anyone who's disadvantaged, I like that word. I like it because it is a umbrella term. Is that the right way to say it? Umbrella term. Let me look it up. Yeah, it is an umbrella term for anyone who is disabled, mentally ill, poor. It goes on. Like, it's just everyone is under that umbrella. And I'm going to put a note because I like that term, umbrella. Under my umbrella. You can also say spectrum, under the spectrum, but that's usually with autism. I like spectrum because I like the color spectrum. Anyways, in general, liberals favor a curriculum designed to meet individual needs. Yes, that's important. So my curriculum in Kind Studio is designed to meet individual needs. It's just common sense. As I mentioned before, nobody learns the same. Nobody has the same education. Nobody has the same privilege. Like, it's based on somebody who comes in and I see what they can do, what they can't do, and then I change my curriculum. So therefore, this is an evolving system that nobody can replicate. If they replicate it, like, I'm just going to be like blown away, but it's literally impossible. Often, this has meant having the schools offer a variety of education programs that students can select according to individual needs and goals. Yes. The individualization of curriculum reflects a general concern with human power planning that is designed to match education programs with labor market needs. I'm going to look up human power planning. What do they mean by that? I sort of know what it means. I just want to make sure. And I'm wearing gloves because my hands hurt from writing. I am writing a very saucy story about ancient Egypt. And I should be doing it on the computer, but like I said, I like writing. Development is a key term to foster quality. Where is what I need to know? You know what's really funny is that Google's trying to correct it to put manpower. Like they're the only thing in existence, you know. Yeah, so it's basically manpower, but I like that they said human power. And this definition is actually quite interesting. So, human power should be the term that we're using, not manpower, because screw that. I know women who work in physical jobs and they're so much better. Anyways, um, so in quotations, manpower. And we can go deep into this word and why it's called manpower. You can go back into the history of how everyone who has made laws and done things that are academic are white men. But let's not delve into that because I will be there forever. um, and then I will never finish this book. Human resource planning. Like I mentioned before, words are very important. The way you use words, the way you say words, the way words are structured in a sentence, you have to be really careful. Um, because those words impact people and situations, and it's a domino effect. Consists of putting the right number. This is a long definition. Number of people, right people. I'm trying to shorten it. Suited to achieve. Come on, phone. I'm looking at you. Come on. Suited to achieve goals. All right. Put that there. And I have to adjust the way I'm sitting. Ooh. Okay. Let me sit this way then. Okay. In contrast to liberals, we're going to Republicans. And where's my red? I need to make it red. Okay, I'm just gonna make it orange. No, wait, no. Yeah, I'm gonna get red. All right. I have my red because I know this is something important. Red is like a very, you can say it's a violent color, but it's not. It's not violent. Just it catches your attention. So, anyways, neoconservatives believe in the negative state. That is the absence of government control with the free market as primary regulator. Neoconservatives want to minimize government regulation. I wonder why. And interference in the economy. Neoconservatives believe that minority rights are the best protected by courts within minimum government intervention. that is not a good idea, because courts are partial to people who are rich. In fact, neoconservatives argue that most government programs primarily benefit government bureaucrats and provide only minimum aid to the poor and minority groups. Okay, so that whole section there, I'm going to bracket, and I'm going to write, so they're aware of this, but they're part of the system. What the fuck? So that's literally what I'm gonna write. What the fuck? Anyways, neoconservatives argue that the best hope for the poor and minority groups. And you realize, I don't know if you caught this, but he, the author of this book, changed the vocabulary. So when he was talking about Democrats, the liberals, he used terms like disadvantage and minority, and he used terms that were non-gender, like human power. And then when he got here, he used terms like the poor, and see the mindset that, not his mindset, not the authors, but this is a researched, this has citation, so he's just quoting what this party has said. Poor, that's how they see people who are disadvantaged. So just to be aware, for if there are children watching this or anyone who's studying, you have to really watch out for vocabulary and words, because that tells a lot. That is a reflection of that particular group mindset, and that's something related to psychology as well. So very interesting. People think the English language is kind of useless, but it's not. Is through self-advancement in a free market economic system. So let's break down that whole paragraph, and I want to use a different color too. I'm going to use orange. In case somebody doesn't understand what they're saying, because this is an educational channel. So they're saying that the poor and minority groups, anyone who isn't white, that their best hope is through self-advancement. And we're going to look up the term self-advancement. So by saying self-advancement, I'm writing the definition. They're saying that they actually have an option. Let me give you the definition. Advancement or promotion of oneself or one's interests. They're saying that these underprivileged, disadvantaged minority groups have the power to advance themselves in a free market economy, and they use the free market, thus implying that that nobody touches the market and manipulates it. But as I read to you earlier, corporations and political interests have been manipulating the economy. So this is blatant bullshit. It's a freaking lie. It is not possible to self advance in this free market, because the people who control that are the corporations. So if the corporation sees that, uh, if they choose, they will never give you a raise, they will never promote you. This is bullshit. Bullshit. I love to curse. It's fun. I don't have to, but it just adds to whatever. Neoconservatives would minimize uh, government intervention in the economy. They tend to support law to regulate personal morality. You have no business putting your personal beliefs in the government. Because personal beliefs can include religion, and we're a separation of church and power. So, what are you fucking doing? This is fucking ridiculous. And this is why we have this problem. Okay. Anyways, in keeping with their philosophy of the negative state, and in contrast to liberals, neoconservatives oppose federal support and regulation of public schools. During the Reagan years of the 1980s, neoconservatives supported the reduction of the federal role in education and an increased role for state and local governments. So by doing that, what color should I use? I'm gonna use green. By giving the power to the state and local governments, no one in this world is going to have the exact education. And that is a problem because in the beginning, in the previous chapters, education was it was for equality. And by giving the power to uh, local, state, and local government, um, it's actually mismanagement. I would never do that. If I was the Secretary of Education, the government has complete control over education. That is because you need standard guidelines. Because by doing that, by giving power to these random jerks who are sitting there doing whatever they do, they can manipulate the laws, they can manipulate the education to their specific interests, which involve political interests and religious interests. For example, when I lived in North Carolina, uh, abortion and birth control were taboo. And guess what? I didn't give a shit. So this is the biggest problem. This is a very big problem. Um, and I'm not saying there's a positive to it, like there isn't a positive. If you have a basis, a curriculum that everyone follows throughout the United States, and then you modify it depending on the community, um, it's for a better education because different communities require different things. Poor communities, these disadvantaged communities, they require a bilingual education because they speak multiple languages. They don't speak English. They also require how to uh, learn how to budget, live on a budget, and how to get out of living in poverty. That is what is important with education. But instead, we have people, Republicans, who just want to make money. And this is what happens when you base when you put greed over human well-being, um, you create an unsustainable system. It literally will not work. We were at the point before coronavirus that our Earth was going to eradicate us, because that's what planets do when they're threatened. They change the atmosphere and they make it unlivable. And because of coronavirus, our planet is healing, and all these politicians, mainly Republicans, they think that we're going to go back to normal, and they're going to proceed to do the same bullshit, and then everything's going to be happy and dandy. It's not. You continue this bullshit, you continue this downward spiral, Earth is going to have enough, and the whole human race is going to be eliminated. So just think about that and feel free to comment. It's unsustainable. Capitalism is unsustainable. It's obvious. Other countries know this. Anyways, neoconservatives are critical of education programs designed to meet individual differences. Why is that? Because they don't give a shit. And want all students to study the same core curriculum, which involves political interests. That's very nice. Okay, we're almost done. Yes, I'm excited. Reflecting their concern with morality. It's subjective, what is moral and what is not moral. Neoconservatives believe that a core curriculum will teach moral values and will be a source of educational excellence. Whew, okay. They argue that the needs of the labor market can be best met. And of course, they mention the labor market. You see how they're not talking about the needs of the poor that they mentioned. Can best be met through school business partnerships? No. Where school leaders can learn the employment needs of the business community. The business community. So they're concerned about the business community. They're not concerned about the human community, the community that makes up America. They just care about business. Also, neoconservatives believe that the best hope for minority and immigrant groups is to learn English and to be socialized into American culture. Consequently, they oppose educational programs that emphasize minority language and culture. Okay, well, this is my learned opinion. It is always good to learn the language of the country you live in. It is not good to not learn other languages and educate yourself about other cultures. And let me relate this to something personal. My first language was Spanish. I learned Spanish, then I learned English, and then, I learned other languages. And I'm at the point in my life where I want to settle down. I have no interest in typical American men because they don't bother to learn about other cultures. They don't bother to learn about other language. So if somebody like me who has several languages, I say several because there's a lot and I'm always learning more. Why would I bother wasting my time trying to have a intellectual conversation with somebody's like, I don't speak Spanish because this is America. You know, like, why would I waste my time? Like, go fuck yourself. You obviously have no education. So, like, leave me alone and go masturbate somewhere. Anyways, so this is a very big problem, and this is a very current attitude that, that you're forced to learn English, which you can't force anyone to do that, but it's always good to learn the language of the country you live in. Um, just out of it's just smart. Um, but to say that they don't want anyone to learn any minority language and any minority culture is a form of control. Um, and that is not only disrespectful, it's ignorant and has bitten them in the ass. It's quite funny because the more languages you learn, the more your brain capacity increases. It's scientifically proven. So these people making these laws are at a low intellect, and then people who speak other languages are actually quite intelligent and they have high processing capacity. So these people are stupid. Anyways, critical theorists find fault with both liberal and neoconservative. It's always good to have a middle neutral view. Positions on the economy, education. From the perspective of critical theorists, the debate about the positive versus the negative state is really a debate about different forms of economic exploitation. And I like that they use that word because that's what it is. On the one hand, they argue large corporations use government regulation as a means of maintaining economic monopolies. There we go. I play Monopoly a lot. I'm actually really good at it. The more you play games, the better you'll be at everything. That's just my little note. Within this framework, government intervention and regulation can sometimes be a means of increasing the advantages of business in the marketplace. Not sometimes, it's all the time. I'm going to change that word. I'm going to cross it out. Currently. Okay. On the other hand, critical theorists argue corporations demand less government and intervention and regulation. On the other hand, critical theorists argue corporations demand less government intervention and regulation of the economy when the actions of government are hurting their profit. What did I just say? I have never read this book before. Okay, so I'm not cheating. I don't cheat in any form because that's the easy way out. Anyways, for critical theorists, the key to economic and social justice is democratic struggle. While recognizing that some forms of government regulation and intervention are to the advantage of ruling elites, critical theorists believe that economic and social justice can be achieved by democratic movements working through government. Critical theorists believe that history is the continuous expansion of political, economic, and social rights as a result of struggle against oppression. Pretty much. Their view of history is optimistic and hopeful, but this optimism and hope depends on the people continuing to fight against oppression and economic exploitation. So this is where we come into 2020. Um, and the reason why this has gone on for so long is because people are afraid of doing what is right. Because the people that have stood up to adversity, is that the right word? Yeah. So people who have um, stood up to adversity. I'm going to make a note of significant people who have. Who else? Currently, I can only think of one person. I have to do some more reading. Oh, yeah, I know one more. And let me add three just in case. Okay, I have to look up the other one in another book because I have a book of people who have made a difference in history. But I only have Martin Luther King Jr. and Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. So the people that have stood up to oppression, greed, etc., have been killed. They have been murdered. And because of this, the average person uh, doesn't want to end up dead. And that's okay. That's fine. But when you let the fear of something that is inevitable control your life, um, people like this continue to manipulate and use and rape the resources of this planet and other people. Therefore, the people um, that we need are people who aren't afraid to die in the process of creating a change. And oh, I have Malala. For example, Yousafzai. Malala Yousafzai died, and she came back from the dead, and so did Jesus. And she continues to do her work. So for the average American, these minorities, these disadvantaged people, I don't expect them to stand up um, to their oppressors because they just can't. They're literally they're living paycheck to paycheck. They have families. They're concerned with all this stuff. So this is where people like me come in and represent them as an advocate, as activist, And there are people who will probably say that um, I'm playing with fire, but I really don't give a shit because I'm gonna die anyway. So might as well go in flame and glory and being remembered for some crazy shit. You know what I mean? It's like that saying. If I'm going to go to hell for committing one sin, I rather do 100,000, and you know. Anyways, given the optimistic view of history, critical theorists emphasize, and let me just add before I continue this. The fear of death is something you can come to terms with if you reach enlightenment through the process of meditation and gratitude. You can eliminate that fear. But, anyways, given the optimistic view of history, critical theorists emphasize an education for democratic empowerment, which simply means by giving students the knowledge and skills they need to struggle for a continued expansion of political, economic, and social rights. Okay, I have to reread that because like I literally have a headache. Okay, so I like the way they phrase this. They said a struggle. Give them the skills they need to struggle. Um, so when you say struggle, I base this on like when I teach people. So I don't give all the answers because once you give all the answers, that person will not learn. And so struggling is actually a great way to learn. Struggling makes you stronger and it makes you think outside of the box. So I like that they phrase that way. Um, it's not about giving the person a cheat sheet. It's about giving them information and having them process that information and finding out for themselves. Because if you do all the work, that's actually really just quite lazy. You know, like if you do all the work and somebody wants you to do all the work for them, like it just you end up stagnating. That's stagnation, and that's what's going on in America in education. It's stagnation, and stagnation is a form of death. Um, you know, it's really just. Ugh. Anyways, of utmost importance is making students aware that they have the power to affect the course of history. This is really true. And we're seeing that with Greta Thunberg and several other activists in America who are young children, high school age, younger. And that is the definition of being brave and courageous. Critical theorists accept the importance of government regulation and intervention to protect equality of education opportunity. In fact, they would argue that the equality of education opportunity is one of the achievements of the civil rights movement in the United States in the 1950s and 1960s. Oh, that's nice. I have a random bird in my yard, and it's called an Oriole, and they're kind of rare. I think they're from like Europe. Anyways, I know random facts about animals. The education concerns of critical theorists can be understood by comparing their ideas regarding a core curriculum with those of neoconservatives. Neoconservatives want a core curriculum as a means of teaching a common moral code to maintain social order. They don't want to maintain social order, they want to control and manipulate people. And as a means of improving academic standards and intellectual skills, that is nothing, they have nothing to do with that. They don't want any academic standards. I'm going to cross that out because that is not the point of this whole conversation. Critical theorists, however, might instead support a core curriculum organized to teach students that they have the power to shape history. And this is where anyone who has studied history, who has a basic education, um, if you've read The Art of War by Tao, whatever his name is, this is a this would be a threat for anyone in power. So that's what's going on. The consideration of liberal, neoconservative, and critical theorists positions on education is meant to show the relationship between political values, education purposes, blah, blah, blah. And he's just going on about talking about chapters 2 and 3, the importance of politics in the profession of teaching in chapters 2 and 3. And in chapters 9, the relationship between purposes of education and the curriculum methods and instruction. This is a great book. I'm so grateful I found it. I'm just like. And now to go into the exercise section. This chapter has focused. Oh, wow, it's been 2 hours. I didn't even realize it's already 2 o'clock. This chapter has focused on the majority political, social, and economic purposes of education. Throughout this chapter, questions have been raised about the purposes and the continuing problems they cause for public education in the United States. In a discussion group or in an essay form, present your ideas on the following issues. Number 1, who or what group should determine the political teachings and political socialization in public schools? No one should teach politics in school. And I'm going to write this out as a essay. I actually should write it out also in the description if anyone wants to challenge my views and debate. I love debating. Anyways, should public schools be used to create a political meritocracy? I don't know how to say that word. I've never heard of it. Oh, merit. Okay. So I'm going to write down the definition of that. Do I have any more paper? Actually, let me put the sticky where it belongs, or else I'm going to get confused. And I'm going to use another sticky. Where's my other sticky? Whatever, I'll use yellow. Meritaka rase. Sometimes my accent comes out. My Hispanic American accent. Power by the people. Once you learn the language, you never forget it. It's deep in your mind. You know. So when I'm really upset or really tired, my Hispanic accent comes out. And then they just sound weird. But anyways, should public schools be used to create a political meritocracy? I think people should leave public schools alone and stop trying to involve politics and just let the kids come to their own conclusions based on evidence and education. What citizenships training should public schools provide in a democratic society? What does he mean by that? Citizenship training. Does he mean like immigrants to become citizens, or in general in society? Like, I'm kind of confused, but I'm just going to say for immigrants who come to this country to be Americans, they should be completely supported to understand the history of schooling and the government. You know, all that is important, and they should also be provided learning the English language and basic civil rights. Who or what group should determine the moral and social values to be taught in public schools? I say the Secretary of Education should have control over that because that's what her title means. But currently, I don't trust anyone having any ultimate power over public education. What social problems do you think the schools are best able to solve? All problems. Problems such as depression, bullying, suicide prevention, spread of STIs, STDs, unwanted pregnancy, um, gun violence, police violence. You can solve all those problems if you educate people in the proper manner. For example, Japan. I lost my train of thought. Social problems people can solve. No, never mind. Japan has a bullying problem. Um, mm, I can't quite think of the country that I'm thinking about. But anyways, what do you think? Number 6. What do you think should be the relationship between the school and social reform in a democratic society? Allowing people to come up with their own conclusions and not forcing a viewpoint on what is right or wrong. Um, because that's the whole point about learning. You based on evidence and studying and education, you decide what should be right or wrong. But nobody does that. What do you think should be the relationship between the school and the economic system? I don't think there should be any relation between school and economics. The only thing that's important is to learn how the economy functions, how to budget, how to manage money, and how to create your own business. Should the focus of public schooling be on career education, or should occupational choice and training be a direct function of the labor market? So, the focus of public schooling should just be education, and you should allow the students to decide whether they want a career or not, or be homemakers, be house husbands, be housewives. You don't have to have a job. That's not the end goal of being educated. Um, Whatever. And now we have the suggested readings, and I should put a sticky in this so I can come back to it. What is this? Exercises. So it just doesn't really matter whether you have a career. Like if you want to go to college, that's a personal choice, but it's not necessary. It's just really irrelevant at this point in time in history, unless it's a serious degree, like that requires years and years of studying and expertise. Like, yeah, go ahead and do it. But if it's just for you to make more money in the long run, I would do research on it. Suggested readings and works cited in the chapter. The American High School Today, that was in 1959. Maybe I'll read that one. The Republic and the School. That one is actually quite interesting because that has Horseman's findings. Anything with facts is great for writing research papers. If you're going to debate a subject. The American School and Political Socialization Process, place called School. School Reform, Business Moves in 1990. It's a survey. The irony of early school reform. I like that. Everything else is kind of optional. Corporations and public education. And I'm not going to even bother reading that because a corporation had a hand in writing that and it's partial, so I don't give a shit. So yeah, I think the only one that I really want to read is The Republic and the School because this is reports. And maybe for fun, for free time, The Irony of Early School Reform. And I think that's it for today, or at least for now. I like to take very long breaks because that's just a smart thing to do. Most likely I'm going to go into the second chapter, but let me see how much sections there are. Oh, there's less. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So yeah, this one might be really, I can't say I can go through it fast because I'm not going to go through it fast. But yeah, for now, it's raining. And I'm just going to relax. Thank you for watching. Giovanni, which one? I appreciate the views because talking to myself can literally drive. Well, talking only to yourself is kind of crazy. So I appreciate people actually listening. The line is, you said it was bullshit. Which one? Like all of this is bullshit. I don't know. There's so much that I highlighted. I can't remember exactly what I said was bullshit because I said most of the stuff was bullshit. So, anyways, yes, this book is great. Tomorrow is Kind Art Tuesday. What are we gonna do? 365 days of art. That's fun. And this time I will have watercolors, so I can do the watercolor stuff. And then Wednesday is Kind Science Wednesday. We're going to continue the game design book. And Friday is reading. I have several books that we can read, and they're actually quite interesting. One of them has to do with monsters, and the other one has to do with The Prince of Egypt, which is my favorite movie. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you for liking. Thank you for watching. I'm not going to find out what I was talking about. But yeah, thanks. Bye.